Welcome to Generation Digital Workforce, the podcast that's here to explore the role of robotic process automation and other digital technologies. Whether you're just getting started or you're looking for advanced strategies and tactics, if you're curious about where human and digital workers are coming together to transform the future of work, then this podcast is for you. All right, let's get into the show.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Michael Marchuk. On this episode, we'll be hearing from Rockie Solomon, who is the Enterprise Automation Manager at Eversource. We are so happy you've joined us today, but not everyone may be familiar with Eversource. So maybe you could start us off by setting the stage about your organization before you tell us about the amazing journey that you guys have been on.
Eversource is the largest utility in the Northeast. We have over 8,000 dedicated employees that serve the needs of electric, gas, and water for approximately 4 million customers. And I say that because I believe that our application of the best practices are why a utility of this size is realizing the value of hyperautomation. Today, I'm excited to focus on three aspects of our journey: the importance of governance, the benefits that we are realizing, and truly how critical the voice of the employee is. We're going to spend quite a bit of time on that. And I believe all of us can relate to a challenge of prioritizing work when you simply don't have enough resources. Something has to sit, accumulate, become a mind-numbing backlog. And that's exactly what was happening in our credit and collections area back in 2018. $1.2 million was being left on the table annually because they simply didn't have the manpower to perform skip tracing, ensuring unpaid balances followed the customers when they moved. Consequently, we sent those unpaid final balances to third-party collection agencies for follow-up. And this is how our journey began. Credit and collections needed help completing manual work. This drove our Vice President of Customer Operations to champion the introduction of RPA at Eversource, beginning with that POC in 2018 to tackle skip tracing. A quick fun fact here is that the credit and collections leader or business champion who helped guide that proof of concept later accepted a promotion in another area where she spearheaded the introduction of digital workers there, paving the way for our team to deliver hundreds of thousands of dollars in annual benefit for her new team. So I think that's pretty cool. But in parallel with this POC, RFP activities were underway for both an automation partner and the RPA technology to establish a foundational capability for business process automation at Eversource. The vision of our Vice President of Enterprise Business Solutions was to see the application of RPA and of intelligent automation extend beyond just the customer group, and understood that in order to do this right, we needed to establish governance and operating model. We have a duty to be good financial stewards. This means we need to be responsible, not reckless with the technology and with the program. Carelessness eventually leads to chaos, confusion, collision, and catastrophic results. And establishing an operating model playbook has resulted in clarity, cohesion, collaboration, consistency, compliance with policies and standards, credibility of the technology and of the team, and comfort working with us. Our fiduciary obligation to be responsible went beyond just selecting the right partner and the right technology. From an automation suitability perspective, we don't skimp on that due diligence. So we have three piles, if you will, as we evaluate use cases. Some go in the yes pile. They're obvious, great candidates for automation. Some go in the not yet pile. And others are consigned to the no pile because not everything that can be automated should be automated. Before we can get to that can versus should question, we're looking to answer what are we doing, why are we doing it, and what aren't we doing and why. There are processes that should be abolished, not automated, and to truly get the value out of an automation program, you can't throw a digital worker at everything. So it was 2 years ago this month that we formally kicked off this program. It was a fun in-person event with our EY and Blue Prism partners, and I've said several times throughout this 2-year journey that when you join a meeting with this team in person or now virtually, members from the EY team, Blue Prism, Eversource business teams, and IT teams are indistinguishable from each other. Why is that important? Well, not being able to tell who was from where represented one team working for the Eversource good, and this continues to be the hallmark of our success. So we developed this operating model playbook, stood up the technology infrastructure, and delivered 4 automations within the first 16 weeks of the engagement. And with 40-plus automations spanning about 27 additional go-lives, it's fair to say that we did this right. 2018 and 2019 were heavily focused on customer operations, with just a few exceptions. 2020 was our official launch into the enterprise, and program to date, we've delivered over $14 million in steady-state annual benefit for Eversource. Provides, as we go forward, some more insight into the use cases and that incredible value. But as was mentioned previously, the focus really has to be on the business outcomes. All of this is brand new. It's transformational and even disruptive change, and yet disruption does not mean destruction. The texture of change does not have to be abrasive to be effective. So in keeping with a thoughtful change management approach, our aim has been to provide each area with an informal, personally meaningful, and empowering experience, which includes hypercare, where we're available, we're easy to engage, we're attentive, we're applying feedback promptly to address the needs of our business partners leading up to and following these game-changing implementations. We want to provide them with more than just an automation. We want to provide them with an experience. This approach was also used when launching attended automations in 2019, and in both cases, the employee feedback and sentiment was extremely positive, and a lot of it was unsolicited. And that serves as confirmation that our approach has been successful and that the strategy is geared toward the right things. The rest of what I'll share pertains exclusively to unattended automations. And what's next in that fascinating world? Well, this is what our employees and our leaders are also asking, and we're continuing to evangelize not only RPA, but the art of the possible with additional technologies. We have some use cases in tow for the capabilities listed and others. For example, in the coming year, we're looking at process mining for granular metric-driven insights related to process improvement. Similarly, we're looking to introduce document intelligence to expand our current capabilities. So there isn't a shortage of opportunities or possibilities. However, business need will continue being a prerequisite for practical, value-driven automation innovation at Eversource, because only by being this deliberate and intentional are we going to be able to continue applying emerging and innovative technologies that enhance the way we work and ultimately deliver value. Executing upon a holistic strategy is what led to benefits like the 4 I've chosen to spotlight here. Results like these can neither be attributed to chance nor happenstance. That $14 million in steady-state financial benefit to Eversource captures things like avoided O&M, labor reallocation to higher value activities, avoided waste, and bad debt reduction. So we teamed up with our corporate performance management team to create enterprise visibility into the workforce capacity that was being created. And we came up with an hours given back to the business metric. And program to date, we've given over 140,000 hours back to the business. That's the equivalent of about 75 full-time employees through digital workers. Among other things, our business teams now have the workforce capacity to complete processes that were previously the victims of some interminable backlogs like skip tracing. And what does this mean for employees? It means that they're no longer shackled to the rope, having to complete over 1 million of the mindless, annoying transactions annually. And there's a lot of employee awesomeness to share in a little bit, so I'll shift our attention to the customer experience, where annually we're eliminating around 300,000 negative customer interactions, such as delayed or corrected bills, through these robotic process automations. In fact, it was the empathetic voice of our employees that raised awareness to some customer billing processes that would benefit from RPA, and those were the first round of automations that we introduced. And lastly, speaking to efficiency gains, one of the most remarkable advantages of hyperautomation technologies is that it's prompting us to imagine what could be instead of focusing on what is. It's a remarkable paradigm shift. We are re-engineering entire business processes to apply automation appropriately at Eversource, using automation to create value. For example, we partnered with our material management team to design an automated solution that provides better information across all supply chain functions for daily decision making. The automation is assisting with purchase avoidance, where material that's no longer needed by one project can be allocated to another, or for our post-storm regulatory reporting. Another great example of driving efficiency in that it's not only used to retrieve and compile storm-related invoices that were previously a tedious manual process, but other business units are able to leverage that automation for onerous bulk invoice retrieval needs that emerge without notice. And I'll mention one last example of bot efficiency gains that's prompted some wow moments for our leaders. And several of the customer billing processes I spoke about that we automated involved hundreds of thousands of transactions annually. And as one would expect for any manual human error-prone process, many of those pending transactions required some supervisor review and approval before they would actually change any details on customers' accounts. And given the volume and the speed at which we knew that digital workers would be completing these transactions, we anticipated there's going to be an increase in supervisor approvals, and to the delight of the supervisors, we implemented an automation to handle those as well. Pretty cool stuff. Without exception, we have not encountered any type of change management resistance. We found without exception that there's an openness to change at Eversource, a willingness to do things differently. And for those who think it's impossible to have such positive receptivity to change, I'd say consider this. We're not asking for a torrential downpour or flooding. We're just asking for a little steady rain to quench the thirst of our environment. However disruptive it'll be to our plans or to our day, I go on to say that most of us would welcome a cool breeze that brings relief on a hot day, but far be it from us to welcome a tornado, a hurricane, or a bomb cyclone. We appreciate waves, but we're not asking for a tsunami. We appreciate the snow, but not a blizzard. And we prefer to be prepared for whatever changes are going to happen in our weather conditions. So we pay attention to the forecast, and we curse the weatherman under our breath if we encounter surprises. But generally speaking, we're open to weather, temperature, and seasonal disruptions that don't leave disasters in their wake, which is why technology and partnerships matter in an automation program. We welcome changes that we expect, or at the very least that we understand. So we have to make sure that we're doing it right. And in our automation journey, we have not had to navigate aftermath at all because we've planned ahead. We've prepared our teams by sharing the forecast, the future outlook, and we haven't brought threatening weather phenomena. It's been non-threatening but consistent rains and winds of change and transformation. And our teams know that it's good. They know it's necessary. It's essential. And so because we anticipated encountering unique personalities or cultures in each of the areas where we were introducing these automations, as a team, we flexed the application of our strategy to seamlessly adapt to their needs, allowing us to maintain effectiveness and efficiency. After all, it's not about the technology at all. It's not about RPA. It's not about other innovative technologies. It is about the business need and advancing the overall organization by enhancing the ability to achieve desired outcomes with these technologies or through these technologies. For example, in our credit and collections area, the digital workers are enabling us to reduce bad debt and improve the customer experience related to the timeliness of deposit refunds. In our billing area, we're reducing cancel rebills and customer complaints by accelerating the accurate completion of customer transactions. We're able to keep up with the growth in our solar programs and other processes because the digital workers provide us with an ability to flex capacity on demand. For our finance teams, we're mitigating and reducing risk while eliminating tedium. In our meter operations area, where the meter to bill process begins, we're creating efficiencies that yield hundreds of thousands in savings annually. We're significantly lowering inventory carrying costs and increasing warehouse efficiency by driving more accurate demand signals through the supply chain. And as a result of COVID, we're using the digital workers to develop a new process for customer notifications and permissions, allowing our vegetation management to shift away from door-to-door permission seeking and ensuring that they're able to support reliability efforts, keeping themselves safe and the customer safe. And the list of success stories really goes on, but these results reflect the execution of a well-thought-out, comprehensive approach, and would not be possible without development quality, an effortless or easy experience working with the team, and the reliability of the digital workers. Leading up to this engagement, we understood that employees could not be an afterthought when embarking upon transformation, especially one that involves automation. We also understood that employees and leaders generally don't care about the tools as much as they care about the results, but there was still a lot that we didn't know. So to adequately identify and understand what was going on, what were their thoughts and their sentiments about the technology, we decided to ask them and we wanted to engage them on their turf, their terms, and their level in a way that was meaningful for them. And you want to overcome resistance to change or prevent it really from the outset, involve the employees up front in it. And that's one of the things that we've continued to do. And we don't guess, we don't assume, and we certainly don't mute their voices. We ask them questions and we encourage dialogue. And we give them solutions that work. So heading into this, we asked the employees, what process annoys you the most, and how good would you feel if you didn't have to do it anymore? And the response was amazing. Our employees are so overflowing with ideas, and in fact, we use their feedback to prioritize several of those customer experience improvements. And as you can see, 100% of the employees were really happy at the thought of offloading the work. In fact, 62% said that they'd do an impromptu song and dance. We also surveyed the leaders. We asked them what could derail the successful use of digital workers at Eversource. And their responses were real too. They covered everything from quality. They raised everything from quality to development time to change management to solution reliability. In short, they did not want us to replace their headaches with migraines. So fast forward, automations are in, we circle back with the employees, and as we go through some of these verbatims, it's evident that the leadership concerns were addressed, working wonderfully. The quality of the solutions is outstanding. We've had 0 post-production defects year to date, and last year there were single-digit defects on just 2 automations. We have over 40 in production. It's a credit to the delivery team and to the subject matter experts who help bring their digital teammates to life. Great helper. If the technology was unreliable, we wouldn't have feedback like this. And I doubt the employees would be happy, excited, or relieved if they took forever to implement instead of taking an average of 10 weeks. They'd probably still be waiting. And speaking of questions, they pose one to us. What else can it do? And that is an awesome question, and it points right back to the capabilities and the multi-skilled or diversely skilled resource pool that was mentioned earlier. So just as customers want experiences that go beyond the billing statements that they receive from us, things like self-service options and consistency and anticipatory research or outreach and friendly and effortless experiences, employees want experiences that go beyond their paycheck. It's not simply about the money for them anymore. And that's something that we realize here at Eversource. It's about the overall work experience that provides job satisfaction, that leads to creativity, innovation, and employee retention as well. Our employees welcome positive change. They're looking for opportunities to drive it. The more mindless stuff that we saddle them with, the less engaged and productive they're going to be, and quality will be a crapshoot. So as customer needs are continuing to evolve, and alongside that our approaches to addressing those needs are evolving, so do the needs of our employees, which means the addition of digital workers to their experience is an investment in their engagement, in their value-added productivity, and it's increasing their own capacity to be creative and innovative and doing what's right for the customer, the company, and also each other.
Wow. So there's a lot of stuff going on at Eversource, obviously. But is there anything you might have done differently now that you're so much further down the journey?
Thank you. That's a great question. I would have to say that given the success of the program today and the relief and the enthusiasm that is encountered regularly, I don't believe that we should have done anything differently. We really encourage experimenting and learning, and the results are saying that we did the right thing. But sure, there are lessons learned. We were introducing rapid and agile ways of delivering value in areas that were used to waiting for months or years for solutions. So the speed and agility of the team was a pleasant shock, but it was a shock no less to these areas. So the lesson learned here was to set expectations for a shortened delivery cycle and identify the right SMEs and resources to be part of that. And we accomplished this subsequently by creating a one-slide visual, a Gantt chart that continues to serve as a resource planning guide for all of our stakeholders for the 8 to 12 weeks that these efforts usually take.
So, Rockie, if you're deploying at the enterprise level, which business areas or functions would you recommend looking at to start off the automation journey? I mean, the conventional wisdom is that RPA is a back office kind of thing, but your team has also encouraged looking at automations in the front office side too.
Yeah, well, we did start in the back office. So the customer billing and the credit and collections processes, those were back office processes that we started with. So our goal has been to deliver value, but maximize the delivery of that value, and we educate the folks at Eversource. Here's some of the capabilities. Here's what we've stood up the foundation to be able to deliver this value to you. And then we allow them we move at their pace. We don't try to move ahead of them. So as they're going through and they're doing some of those rigorous exercises that I talked about before, really examining what they're doing and why they're doing it, that is allowing them to drive the pace of change for their areas. So some of the other groups that we're focusing on that we believe it is going to be a much bigger explosion of automation is in our finance team, so we're working on that too. But we're being deliberate about how we introduce those changes and working with the champions in those areas.
Rockie, it was a pleasure to hear from you today about all the great outcomes that your team is driving at Eversource. We really appreciate everything you shared with us today about your journey and how others can follow along in your footsteps.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Generation Digital Workforce. If you want to hear more about RPA, AI, and other cognitive technologies that are shaping the future of work, join us next time as we continue to go deeper on these topics with industry innovators and experts. To make sure you never miss a future episode, subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast player. And if you've liked what you heard today, please leave us a review. It's one of the best ways to help more people find valuable content. For show notes and more info, visit us at blueprism.com/podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.